Okay, welcome back to Camping with the Pups. It's been a eventful couple weeks. We'll go into, as you've seen on the thumbnail, we had some drama on the road. We'll get into that a little bit later in the podcast here. Um, but if you're new to us, Camping Pups RV, I'm Brian,
I'm Daniela.
and the Camping Pups are having their breakfast right now. Are Maggie and Jackson, so they are enjoying their breakfast after their morning walk. So we've been doing a series so far of um, your actual places we've gone. This is part of our 2 month experiment on living on the road, dealing with the unexpected that pops up. And as I alluded to earlier, there was a lot of unexpected that happened today. So with that, we also though have talked about places we've been. And our last check-in a couple weeks ago was from Oklahoma, where we had 4th of July. From there, we went up to Wichita, Kansas, and saw our daughter and our grandbabies. So we took a little time off from the video for that, uh, and saw the area around there. After that, we made our way to Tennessee, where we're at now, and stopped for a couple days in Minor, Missouri. And we'll talk about all those places as well. And then we had some hiccups, and then got down here in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, in the Smoky Mountains. So with that, pack up in Oklahoma went fairly smooth. The park we were at there, we talked about a little bit in our last episode, was formerly known as Mustang Run RV Park. You can probably still see it under that in the on social media and on the web, but they recently got bought out, so they were doing some updates. So, do you want to talk about the updates they were doing there at all, or?
One of the updates that they're doing is they had a full access from the reception to their clubhouse, where their pool table, coffee setup, uh, TV, lounge area. So what they did was they put in a new wall separating the two, because under the current setup, they would, when they closed the office down, they would lock the clubhouse down, so you didn't have access to it. So this time, with the wall separating the reception area and the clubhouse, they'll have full 24-hour access, which means the doors will no longer be locked to the bathrooms going into there. You'll be able to go from the bathroom to the clubhouse, and from the clubhouse into the bathrooms and the laundry and things of that nature. And the pictures, the way it looked really, really good. It looked very seamless, like it had been there the entire time, like it was always meant to be there. And one of the things that they were putting in was the barn door that you can still walk through between the reception
Yeah.
and the clubhouse. And they were putting in actual stairs leading up to the back patio.
So, nice upgrades going there. They mentioned that they're also going to be putting in more camera, an actual gate. Right now, it's kind of got a half gate that you drive through, but they're going to have access gate and stuff like that. So, they're doing some upgrades there. It is right off the interstate, so it's pretty much pavement and stuff like that. They do have a dog run. They were redoing and getting set up there. So there's a place to take your dog off leash and some grass areas and stuff like that. So that's nice. We took off, fairly uneventful trip up to Wichita, Kansas, other than the fact that road construction or something, GPS took us 10 minutes in the other direction to U-turn and go back the other way.
That was when we were leaving Wichita.
That was when we were leaving Wichita. Okay.
Yeah.
So, um, as you can imagine, these trips kind of get mixed together as far as some of the aspects of it. Wichita was nice, eventful. We arrived up in um, at a place called Camp the Range, also off the highway, uh, and that was fairly nice. It is mostly on the outskirts. It has some grass area. In the middle where we were was mostly gravel
Mm-hmm.
throughout. So it made it a little difficult. I mean, we couldn't put any flags or anything like that out, not because they didn't allow it. It's because we didn't have the ground for it to go into, type thing. But still got a pretty nice setup. They let us put our fence out, and we had canopy up and stuff like that. So we're able to be out with the pups. I was working from the road, which actually turned out okay because our daughter was going to bring the grandkids up, and they were going to be up there for almost a week, but she wasn't able to get off early, so they came up Friday. So we had a long weekend with them, and that actually worked out well because I was working up to that point remote, and that worked out fine. My work area, if I'm not outside, if weather's not permitting, generally is up front here. If you're familiar with the Class C, and some of your Class A's will do this too, your front driver and passenger seat will turn around to give you extra seating. And we use portable tables and stuff like that because the pups, their room is on our dinette. Our dinette's put down into a bed, and their kennels are there. They're safe space when they want to go. So I use over there with table work, and that actually works out fairly well because if I'm not out with them every moment, if I want the door so they can kind of come in and out a little bit, the seat I'm at is literally like a foot, and I'm watching out the door.
Literally, he just needs to step down and he's out the
Yeah.
door. So
there's been a couple times, car drive by or someone come by, they'll, run out because they'll be inside with me. They'll run out and bark, and I'm literally a step behind them. So normally not a problem. When we were at Camp the Range, the management was wonderful.
yes.
Very responsive to any issues. Unfortunately, there were a couple, one in particular, long term behind us that he told me that a male Karen's called a Ken, but I'm still gonna call him a Karen, basically. Just felt like he should be running the park instead of the owners, and tried to tell me what I can and can't. Not allowed to have pets in my fenced in area, which I told him I already talked with, the campsite owners, and everything was fine.
He was the welcoming committee and the neighborhood watch all wrapped up in one.
Yeah. So I mean, you have that in different places. Your long term is a little different, especially if they're almost living there, like 9 months out of the year or the full year. Some places is a little different than others. But overall, we enjoyed. We talked to the manager when the person complained about our dog because our dog was out for like half a step in front of me, type thing. And it was like, there's no issues, stuff like that. They'll take care of it. But overall, it's really nice. We also told the owner that we do reviews, and that will be coming up later. Danielle did some video to do some reviews, and we'll be posting that at some point at the end of the trip. We got a lot of footage that we've built up here. And when you were walking around, you had a little bit of surprise. You got back to the campsite, and
the police were waiting for me.
Yeah. So they had very good neighborhood watch. So they called because someone was filming.
Very, very responsive. And for anybody who is on social media, realistically, if you don't want your likeness and you see somebody with a camera, very simple, look away.
Mm-hmm.
Look away. Because literally, I think I got maybe 2, maybe 3 seconds of somebody washing their car, and I was not in his face. I was on the other side.
By,
yeah. Literally, I'm like a full 2 car driveway lengths away from him. I mean, I was practically literally on the edge of the gravel and the grass on the back of the park, and just getting how everybody was set up, and then how you could tell the long-term people versus people who are just there for a few days, a few nights type of thing. And
hint, they have the real large propane tank, they're probably there for more than a night.
Yes. And just taking in the beauty of the area that we were in, kind of making fun of the fact that on the outskirts of the property, there was a cornfield. And for anybody who's a Stephen King fan, you know what the cornfield means. And it was just kind of odd. The security team and the owner knew exactly where to go when the police were called, and so they were okay with it because we didn't do anything.
And I mean, for those of you that have watched videos on on social media and stuff like that, that this is not a, First Amendment audit or anything like that, type thing, because you're on private property. It is a campground, but we do try to respect as much as possible. And we did check with the owner first to
Yes.
say, hey, we do reviews at places we go because our viewers like to see that, what the amenities are in different places. Did they have a problem? And they were all on board for it. So they knew we were going to be filming that day as well. So, but very responsive. If there's any issue, they're on site right away, type thing.
Yeah, they even told us that in addition to the cameras that you do see, that they do have some cameras that are hidden just to kind of make sure. Like I said, in the office, when you first walk in, they have two TV monitors on the wall. The first big one has 9 cameras with 9 different screens, and then the other one had 4 different screens. And I didn't exactly notice where the other 4 screens were. So I mean, altogether, you're looking at what, 12
something like
some
that.
12
Plus whatever they have behind.
Yeah.
But that's regardless. But it's a nice little campsite. There are some places with some shade and stuff like that, trees, natural trees, stuff like that. There is a big field. They have a pretty good size dog run area that you can take them to. Playground. Does not have a pool, but not every place is going to have a pool when you go camping anyway. So, good rec area. So if it got too hot, which it was getting 100 degrees most of the days we were there, they said their rec area has got a lot of books, TV, kitchen, almost full kitchen you can use, and building AC. So it works out well. So people go there sometimes. Their bathhouse, they only have the one bathhouse, but it's a small park. So it was 70 some spots overall. I think he said 78 or something. So it worked for it. And the owner has been really working. They took over from previous management that didn't have the best reputation for the park. So they've been really working on it. They, restrooms were always clean. Showers were clean. Good size too.
Yes.
Did big showers and stuff and changing areas. So had a good time with that. Kids came up, spent some time in the RV. And then we went local to see what's around. And there was like regional county type water park thing.
Yes.
It had big splash area for the little ones, lazy river,
couple
slides,
lap pool.
Yeah. And it's across from the high school. So the lap pool was closed because they use that for events. So there was an event going on, but
they enjoyed that going on.
And prior to that, we kind of went downtown, saw some of the stuff downtown. We have a couple shorts that'll probably come out before the full video does, of a couple of one of the restaurants we came across. It was really nice. And then little dive bar, beach bar that was very friendly.
Oh yeah.
On there. So a lot of good things you can do. I mean, Wichita is not necessarily the main tourist destination, but there's a lot of stuff in Kansas, especially if you're going to be there for a little while. I mean, you have Dodge City, that's like a couple hours from there. But there's stuff local there as well. So
yeah, there's your Wichita is where we were at. We were pretty centrally located. We were within 20 minutes of just in any direction to anywhere. So we weren't out in the boondocks.
We were very close to the university.
Oh yeah, we were right down the right down the road from Wichita State University, home of the Shockers. So
that went well overall. Other than, like I said, the nosy neighbor right behind us, but you're gonna run into that. And then we had fairly good pack up and go. What we do is we set up a lot because we got the fence and kind of make it our home. So what we'll do is the night before we leave, we'll pack most of it up that evening. So the morning is more getting the rig ready, doing all the dumps and all that type of stuff before we go, so it doesn't take us too long to get on the road. Going on the road went fairly well. Seems to be working fairly well with that, especially with our pups, because our pups don't ride in their normal rooms because they're oriented different. So we set up on the bed so they have a nice comfortable place where they're traveling forward, thus motion sickness. So some stuff needs to be adjusted. But we hit the road, had a fairly decent drive down to Minor, Missouri.
Sykeston.
Yes, Exton. Was a mailing address, but when you pulled in, it literally said "Welcome to Minor." So apparently, I'm not sure where the line was, but their mailing address was Sexton. So went to a small park there.
Very small park.
Wasn't really what what I anticipated. Their webpage didn't lie. It was a little misleading for us. That was the Hinton RV Park. Was fine. They do take you to your site when you check in. We did get there before closing, which was good. But they advertise, I guess they say pets welcome instead of pets friendly. It definitely was not a pet friendly place. More of what you would say, like you said, there's all places have long term, but this one is probably more of a transit, meaning people come in for a night and continue going, which is fine. It's a small place, but you couldn't put anything out as far as fence, which some places are doing more of that. There was no dog walk area, even when we asked about, can we put fence out? They were saying, no, you can walk them over there. And they just pointed over to behind a closed down gas station or something, type thing. So, I mean, we may do, but the first place we've been to where we booked 3 nights and stayed 2. We left early to get to Tennessee. So, I mean, it was a no frills. It wasn't an expensive place. It's a inexpensive, like 45 for discount, like 49.
I get the pets, but at least have the poop stations.
Yeah.
At least
something with the bags or something. Especially if you're gonna say pets welcome.
Yeah.
Make sure
there was nothing. We had to walk to the dump, which was literally just across their fence line. I'm not quite sure.
Dumpsters, yeah.
They shared dumpsters with the business behind them, I guess. So
it did have bathhouse facilities. I say bathhouse, because you went in the laundry room and men's was one side, women's was the other. I'm not sure on the women's, but the men's literally was one toilet, one shower, and that was your bathhouse. So
one toilet, one shower, dual sinks. So
we did. Although while we were there, when we had dinner, we went to Lambert's,
home of the famous rolled rolls.
Throne rolls, yes. So apparently they have 3 locations, but this was the original. And if you go there and you leave hungry, that's your own fault.
Yeah.
Because not only do they have decent, meals there, but they have what they call pass around. So not just the rolls, but they come around with okra,
black eyed peas, fried potatoes,
mac, and
it's not really mac. It's noodles with tomatoes.
Well, it's the mac noodles with tomatoes, kind of salad type thing.
Yeah.
Apple butter, molasses for your bread, for your rolls. And the reason why I say I'm with throwing rolls, and they do, is they'll come out with a whole tray of these huge rolls, and you just raise your hand and they toss it to you. And they practice pretty good, because I think the whole time we were there, we saw only one person miss.
Yeah.
On that, so came up a little short, but great place. So we had that. Couldn't really tell you much more about the area there because we left after that.
It's a sleepy little town.
Mm-hmm.
I got to drive around a little bit, looking for my nutrition clubs, and it's a sleepy little town.
And there's a couple other RV parks there too.
Yeah, we just didn't go that far.
This is one I saw.
Yeah,
because online you couldn't tell the ones around it. You couldn't really tell from their online presence whether they were pet friendly. This was the one that appeared to be pet friendly because it said, pets welcome, and then a number of their pictures prominently showed a dog or something, type thing. So it gave the impression that it was more pet friendly than it was. Since we travel with pets, and that's one of the things I look for, it didn't quite fit the definition for us. Um, but with that, so we knew the place we're coming to in Tennessee here, where we're at now. We've been here a couple times, so we called to see did they have availability a day early, and hit the road. So we hit the road heading to the Smoky Mountains.
Hmm.
Um, had a few stops along the way, got the pups out, stuff like that, and then about how far would you say out past Nashville?
I would probably say we were within 10 miles outside of
Yeah, so
Nashville.
about 10 miles past Nashville. Um, Coming down here to the Smokies, we heard, well, not only heard but felt a huge jolt. Bad enough, we tow our flat tow our Jeep behind us, and I keep the backup camera on the whole time so I can always see it. I was in the passenger because I work on the road as we're going down the road, and literally felt like we may have had a disconnect, and maybe the emergency um, pull brake for the either we had disconnect or it felt dragging because it felt like maybe something happened in the emergency breakaway went off on the Jeep because it literally was pulling in and all types of noise and stuff like that. So luckily, we were able to get over the side. Someone let us over, got over to the side, went out and checked. And as you can see from the thumbnail here, driver's side, both rear tires. So on the Class C, you have an inner and outer on ours. Both have blown. So yeah, shredded on there. Um, in retrospect, looking back, we are fairly lucky in that there was minimal actual damage to our RV. With that, you had the tires themselves were blown. The hookups, the PVC hookups underneath to both the tanks, the gray and black tank, came out because that's the side where the dump is. So when the driver's side rear went down, the actual where you hook up your hose hit the pavement, and that was enough to tear that completely out of the tanks. So what little was in there spilled. No control over that. Uh, but I've seen tire issues, especially rear tire issues, where there's been lots of damage on RVs, where it's torn up, the belts come loose and torn up and tore up the half the side and stuff like that. We didn't have any of that, luckily. Thank you. Had to call roadside. We do have Good Sam Roadside. Called them. Their tire protection, which we got when we did this, is a little different. They'll dispatch right away. Um, but unlike other roadside, you have to pay up front for it and then submit a claim to hopefully get reimbursed. So we haven't gotten the claim in yet to get reimbursed. So we'll see how that goes. It should be okay. But
Yeah, that'll be on the next video.
yeah, but that's a bit costly. But the company that came out was fairly good. They told us it'd be about the dispatch told us to be about an hour and a half on the side of the road. He got there probably in about half hour. Um, Worked it. I was out down the road, kind of helping direct traffic over because there wasn't much room since he's on the driver's side to get everything done with all the trucks going by and other vehicles. Most people were good about getting over. There were a couple truckers that had the room but just didn't, and blew past him, very unsafe type thing. And wasn't until about the last
20
20
minutes.
minutes we were there that the state police came up and
Tennessee's finest showed up.
decided to help with the traffic there. So, but he was able to change both of those. Um, Unfortunately, it may have been age or something like that. Tread was good on it. I had the tire minder things. Nothing went as far as pressure or heat alerts prior. So, from what the tire person said, that we could have picked up something on the road. Happens all the time in that stretch. So apparently the tire picked up something and it was enough for it to blow. And then that blowing pressure on the one next to it took it out, or wherever we hit was big enough. We didn't see anything that got hit, but we were very lucky. Didn't have lose control. Danielle's an awesome driver. He was driving at the time, so everything went well with that. The other thing that went in our favor was after I checked everything, that whole PVC connection with the two pipes and everything else was still intact and hanging from under our vehicle.
Literally by thread.
Yeah, we have the tank heaters, so when you're in colder weather, things don't freeze up. What you didn't realize, which makes sense, is the valve release. If you ever have worked, when you reach under to release for a black tank or a gray tank, is fairly close to the end. That means that in addition to stuff being in your tank, it's in that pipe leading up to those valves. So that can freeze too in bad weather. So your tank heater actually has pads that's glued around that part of the pipes to keep that from freezing. Well, luckily, it was still hanging underneath by the wires to those heat pads. So I was able to secure it, get those pads off, secure the pipes and stuff on outside bay, um, and get to our location. Of course, that meant that until we get repaired, no water because there's no tank, gray or black, for that. So we dealt with the bathhouse for a day, and then I called around. I looked at myself with the proper tools and equipment, the PVC glue for plumbing and all that. Probably could have done myself with some help here, holding everything. But also, I knew I was still working, so it'd been between meetings, and I didn't have the right equipment with me, so I'd be going out to buy stuff anyway. So, called around some of the mobile repair places to see if anyone was available and what ballpark I was in. Fully aware that you can't give me that they couldn't give me a quote because they'd have to look at it first. But assuming what I told them was the case, I was like, give me a ballpark. Am I looking at a couple hundred thousand, whatever, type thing. Um, so by the way, it did turn out to be a couple hundred, but found one place. Most places were like, I can't get to it till next week. Another person was, it's going to be a couple days. So last place called me back because they were on a job when I called, right before I went out to the hardware store, and said, well, again, they couldn't give a price, but they could, their hourly rate's this, and to show up on the call is this. But they were coming back from a call and near where we were at, so they would swing by and take a look to be able to give me an estimate. So I was great with that. Showed up, wonderful couple, runs this
Yes.
business. It's called Long Ship.
Long ship.
Yeah,
Long
RV.
RV mobile.
Yeah, I have a small short again. They'll be coming out in a few weeks on that. But they came out, took a look. The great thing was it was all still in one piece. The smaller pipe going from the gray to the main assembly came loose at the connection, so that just had to be glued back in the connection. Everything was still in place. So he was able to do that. Had to fix the brackets because that's really what broke, was the brackets holding it to there. One bracket was very thin, that kind of broke. The other one was thicker. It didn't break, but it literally tore the screw out, type thing. So he was able to reset, get all that done.
He's my hero.
took about a couple hundred, type thing. But with that, got us up and running, tested, everything's fine. So we only really went a day on site here without water, with having to go to the bathhouse. And you don't realize how far away the bathhouse is until you have to go there anytime you have to use the facilities or anything. Um, so with that sigh of relief, finished up. That was just a few days ago. That was we pulled in here Wednesday,
Wednesday.
and so it was Thursday during my meetings or in between meetings when he finally showed up. I had to come back in and finish up my workday, but he was able to get us fixed, and so today's Sunday, so Friday, Saturday, today we've been excellent. So
No
um,
problems too.
here in Pidgeon Forge, which is the area of the Smokies we're at, there is a lot of stuff. Pigeon Forge, the Smoky Mountains, Pigeon Forge is tourist central.
Yes.
But there's a lot of things you can do that's outside the tourist thing. As you saw from Orlando, we like to highlight things that are non-tourist as well. Um, so as well as some of the fun things for the tour. So last time we were up here, we did go to Pigeon Forge. Well, we're in Pigeon Forge, but we went to Hatfield McCoy's dinner theater thing, Feud, which is excellent show.
Mhm.
Lots of food. That's where Forgy here is from. So that's where the adventure began with Daniela taking him to all these different clubs and stuff. This time we did the Lumberjack Feud,
Paula
Paula
Dean.
Dean's
Paula
Lumberjack
Dean's.
Feud,
Mhm.
which is more the show. Food's okay. You got barbecue pulled pork, mac and cheese, beans, cobbler. So it's this smaller menu, but it's mostly the show on
Mhm.
there, and it's not that bad as far as costs on there. But that was fun. You end up getting a souvenir from there.
Oh, yes, I did. Yes, I did.
Okay. So the winners of each, you have two teams, and the winners of each event,
Mhm.
um, they get what they call a lumberjack cookie, which is part of a log where they cut off the end of a log on there, and so each side of the theater gets that on each event. Of course, whoever's
Cheers the
the
loudest.
most out of control or any of that type of stuff ends up getting. So one of them she got, so she'll be
Yay.
bringing that home on there. Um, and then out of all the time we were in Florida, I went in the water like twice. We had one at the pool, and then we did do Discovery Cove, which is excellent if you ever get a chance to go there.
Yes.
But we were in the Keys, we are in Tampa, we are in Orlando. I never did water park, any of that. So one of the things I did want to do when we got here, I saw Dollywood's here. They have the water park area too, so we decided to go and do the water park. Might go back because we are there for a couple hours, and then they close for lightning. And you could stay around because they will reopen when the lightning's out of the area. But we had another event that night, so we left early. And the event we had that night was another one of these sipping paints. This one was bring your own, not paint. You bring your own sipping. But with that, we did a couple thing with that. Wasn't a couple sipping paint. It was just both of us went type thing. And so we typically, when we do some of those together, she does a lot more than I do. But we do those together. We try to change it up a little because they're going to be in the same house. We always do a little different than what's being taught anyway, whether it's just a matter of colors or something like that. So with that, did a couple differences. This is hers over here, and she's got mine.
Oops. Here we
That you
go.
see was the planets on there. So fun event, nice to do. We're going to when I'm getting ready to have some other activities, but before next weekend, or maybe after next weekend, we're going to Gatlinburg. Gatlinburg is another big area at the foot. It's about 20 minutes up the road,
It's
maybe a little
about
more.
it's about 30 minutes, 30, 45 minutes
Yeah,
with no traffic, and then with
but
traffic.
there's normally traffic because it's very popular
Yeah.
on there. But that's kind of a little mountain town along there. Lots of little things to do. The other thing, touristy here, they have right here in Pigeon Forge the
Oh my God.
yeah, we have the
Mm.
um, mountain coasters. So it's like a roller coaster, but it's literally on the side of a mountain type thing.
Oh, those are fun.
So we're going to do that coming up here, uh, and we're going to see some other stuff. Figure out what to do locally here that we haven't done yet. So
Oh yeah. There's a lot to do here. I mean, you can't literally you get on the main strip and you trip over yourself trying to figure out what to do. There's a Bible museum if that's your thing. There's a Hollywood wax museum. There's mini golf. Of course, mini golf is like anywhere. Right down the road, there's a adventure place where you can do go-karts, bumper boats, mini golf. They've even got a zip line. So I mean, there's just uh,
Stables, of course. You're in the mountains,
yeah,
so they got
there's
stables for riding.
one
There's
of
a
the
little boardwalk area too, with like Ferris wheel and stuff like
mhm,
that, and everything. One thing we did last time we're down here, which was very interesting if you're interested in that type of history, but interactive stuff, was we did a place called Alcatraz East, and it's basically crime and punishment type
mhm,
museum. Um, Here, and of course, you're going to get, being up here, you're going to get the an area. It's still talked about, Bonnie and Clyde and the whole,
mhm.
Chicago thing, but that ties into, because that was during Prohibition and the bootleggers and moonshiners,
Yep.
um, which Smoky Mountains was very big on your rum runners and that type of stuff, and the moonshiners and all that type of stuff. Um, Interesting fact: Prohibition, because people were doing moonshine and they were having to outmaneuver the people trying to catch them. They would soup up the cars, and that was the born of NASCAR. NASCAR came out of people running illegal liquor on there. So,
Gives you
um,
hazard.
yep. So this is one of the areas that was involved in that. Also, another thing about the Smokies I just saw, isn't really my thing as far as conventions, but next weekend they're having the Bigfoot convention up here. Is apparently one of the areas where supposedly sightings of Bigfoot started up was in the Smokies
Huh.
here. So
Cool. North Carolina has a Bigfoot convention. It's late August, early September timeframe, I think, is what it was. I'd have to look at the exact dates, but I know it's in North Carolina. I think around Cherokee-ish. Um, so that would be kind of cool to go down there and see everybody doing the Bigfoot thing.
mm-hmm.
That'd be kind of
Yeah.
fun.
So that's the road so far, part two. But hope you're enjoying this series. We're trying to give you some insight from local stuff throughout. We will have some more on next. May not end up doing next week. It seems like the pattern seems to be working better every 2 weeks. But that will give us more info, because we're down here for a little bit longer. We'll probably won't have a lot between now and next weekend, but the following weekend we'll be back home, and we'll be able to recap a lot of what happened with Pidgeon Forge and the trip in general on that, because this was, like I said, this is a 2 month trek for us on living on the road, and so far, lots of
We're still
unexpected.
married.
Yeah, so far things are working, and lots of unexpected things pop up, whether it's with work or vehicle or just life on the road that we didn't plan for. But we'll be talking a bit about that in the next episode. So with that, haven't seen any comments, but if you have comments between, this also gets posted up on both our Facebook and YouTube. So feel free to leave comments. I do read comments between these broadcasts, and we'll address any comments you have, answer any questions. And with that, hope you're having a wonderful Sunday. And for the Camping Pups, Maggie and Jackson, I'm Brian.
I'm Daniela.
And happy camping with the pups.